Ragin Cajuns men's basketball just might be the most dangerous team heading into the Sun Belt Conference tournament. I'll explain here on Ragin Rundown. What's good, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into another episode here on Ragin Rundown, the show where you will know all things UL athletics. I'm your guy, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick, but you know you can always call me Fitz. Before we get started, if you're watching this video on YouTube, please do me a favor and make sure you're subscribed to the channel, like this video, share it, and leave a comment down below. If you're listening on podcast feed, make sure you follow the feed, rate us, and leave us a review as well, because it may seem like a small task, but it will help us get in front of more Ragin Cajun fans just like yourself. And in today's episode, it's a topic that if you're looking at the title, the description of this episode, you're probably scratching your head and saying that I'm absolutely insane. And that may be true. I may be completely wrong. But let me state my case and cook for just a second. I believe Louisiana men's basketball is the most dangerous team heading into the Sun Belt Conference tournament. And I'm not just saying that because I cover this team. I'm not just saying that because I'm a working media member in the city of Lafayette. I'm saying it because of what I have seen this team do over the last month and a half of the season, and then what the numbers say as well. And we'll talk a little bit about that as the episode progresses along. So like I said, let me cook for just a second. It's not about them scoring points. It's not about them being the favorite. It's not about where they were picked in the preseason rankings. It's one thing that separates Louisiana from the rest of the teams in the conference that I believe is what makes them so dangerous, and it's defense. And I know you're probably saying, how is a team that only has 10 wins on the season and hasn't won double-digit games in Sun Belt Conference play, how are they dangerous on defense? Obviously, they're not doing something correctly. That's probably what you're saying. But what this team has proven, especially, like I said, over the last month and a half, is that they are able to put together multiple games back-to-back in sequences where they can have good defensive performances and where it is 1 to 2 possessions that make or break the wins or losses in the games that they've had, like I said, in the last month and a half. The thing about defense is that it travels. You know, you can go to a different gym and you can have a bad shooting night. You can go to a different city and altitude can be different, or the traveling can make it harder for you to get in for shoot around. And so you're not acclimated to the way things are feeling on the court. All of these different things can get away from you. But defense and the effort that you're presenting on defense is what can travel with you. So let's look at the thing from a big picture perspective. Tournament play is always very condensed. It's short prep time. You don't have a lot of opportunities to scout and game plan. You're kind of just going out there and playing. And then the way that the Sun Belt Conference tournament is set up this year, it's the play-in for the 11 through 14 seeds on Tuesday. They play Wednesday. They play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, championship game on Monday. Now, obviously, your top 8 seeds get buys that are spread out across the schedule itself. But you're playing games back-to-back in order to try to go and win a conference championship. And so with that in mind, you have short prep time. You're playing in back-to-back games. You're in neutral sites, so you don't have a home court advantage. And so guys will get tired. Their legs will get tired. And because of that, if you know anything about shooting basketballs, with your legs being more tired, your shots are not going to fall as frequently. So you may see more low-scoring games, which plays more into the hands of Louisiana. So I know you're probably saying, well, prove it to me, Jamarcus. How does this play into Louisiana's hands because of defense, right? Their identity has been, since day one that Quantas White took over, has to be a defensive-minded team first, and that offense will progressively come along. And we saw early on in the season that neither one was their strong suit, but the offense was way further behind than the defense was. And as they've progressed along throughout the season, the defense has come along better, and they've had nights where they've been able to score the basketball at a high clip and have great shooting nights to complement their defense. Currently, UL is second in the Sun Belt Conference in scoring defense. They're second in blocked shots in the Sun Belt, and they are second in the league in turnover margin. So they are +3, I believe, in turnover margin. So they're putting themselves in position where it's a handful of possessions that make or break the games that they're playing in. And the style of defense that they're playing in a lot of instances, like they're trying to guard 1 through 5. There are going to be instances where, there are bigger post players that they're going to face, that switching may not be the best thing to do, because if you got a guard like Devion Laverne matched up with a post player or Dorian Finister or so on and so forth, it doesn't play into their hands as well. But what they're trying to do in a lot of instances is get as much on-ball pressure, utilize help defense, and rotate and switch in so many different ways to where teams are having to utilize the entire shot clock, and that it's making it harder for them to try to get off good shots. And because the Cajuns have been able to do that, that is what has put them in the position that they're in right now. Why does that make them so dangerous? Because matchups is what it's all about once you get to this point in the season. Who do you match up best with? How do things fall with who wins in the tournament and all of those things like that? And the way the bracket is currently laid out for UL, and obviously that has its ability to change with 2 more games left in the regular season. But as it's set right now, it plays directly into UL's hands. And we'll talk about that in just a second. And not to mention, we have a sample size of what UL is able to do when they complement their defense with great nights of shooting. The 4-game win streak that they went on as of recent, they beat Georgia State while shooting 50% from the floor, 50% from 3. Georgia Southern, 50% from the floor, 50% from 3. James Madison, they won on the game-winning three-pointer, 39% from the floor, 40% from 3. Central Michigan, 57% from the floor, 47% from 3. So the defense is what's putting them in a position that when they are having good scoring nights, that they are able to win ball games. And that's why you saw them go on that last streak of 4 games. And I know they fell off since then, lost a couple of games. They recently picked up a victory over Texas State. And so now they're trying to gain that momentum back as they close out here in the regular season. So it's all about matchups, and it's all about how they are going to face these different teams as they go along throughout the postseason. And not to mention the factor of psychologically what it can do to teams when you're facing them. If a team is putting a lot of pressure on you defensively, and this is a one and done situation, you either win it and you keep moving on, or you lose and you're going home. And for a team like that's in the Sun Belt, if you don't win, you're not going to the NCAA tournament. So your season is likely over unless you get a bid in like the NIT or something. So pressure is even more setting on teams that have something to lose. For Louisiana, they don't have as much to lose. We've talked about it in previous episodes that you can go and check out. They have lost Josh Lewis to injury, Jamyron Keller, Sean Elkington. Karis Bilal was out earlier in the year. Milan Mejia was out at a short period of time here in the season. They've had so many guys in and out of the lineup. And to be in this position right now where nobody thought they could be, positioned at 9th in the standings right now, they have absolutely nothing to lose. And that is what makes them dangerous, on top of being a defensively sound basketball team. So, like I said, When you look at things from a psychological standpoint, teams will start forcing shots. They'll make bad decisions. They'll start to turn the ball over, feel like they got to play hero ball and say, hey, man, I got to go and drop 30 because we got to win this game. If we don't, we're the team that lost to UL, a team that has not been so well in year one for Quantas White. So teams may feel that way. All Louisiana has to do is go in, game plan, play aggressive defense, and let the shots fall where they may. So I know we talked about a path of how they could potentially do it. I'm going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk about how the seeding is looking as of now with 2 games left in the regular season and how that path could actually play out in Louisiana's favor as things progress through the regular season and how it could go along in the conference tournament. We'll talk about it when we come back here on Ragin' Rundown. So before we went to break, we talked about a path that Louisiana actually could have that would match up in their favor if things laid out the way that it did right now. Currently in the conference standings, as of me recording this episode on Saturday night, February the 21st, the conference standings currently has Louisiana in a 3-way tie with Georgia Southern and Georgia State at 7-9 in conference play. But because they've beat them, they have the tiebreaker over them, so they would be 9th in the conference standings. Above them is Southern Miss, who beat them twice, and then James Madison, who they beat during the season 64-61. Realistically, this is probably where they're going to end up. Anywhere from 9 all the way down to 12 is where they will probably end up. If by some miracle Southern Miss loses out and James Madison, loses a game or 2, and then they're able to win out, they could jump up because they also beat Coastal Carolina. And Coastal Carolina is above James Madison at 9-7. So things could kind of shake out a little bit somewhere in the pack. But for the most part, Louisiana is probably going to end up being the overall 9 seed in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. And so because of that, they would not be playing in the play-in on Tuesday. Instead, they would start their journey on Wednesday, March the 4th, and they would play the winner of, if the tournament was to start today, they would play the winner of Georgia State or Old Dominion. Georgia State, you've beat them before. Old Dominion, obviously, they did beat you as of recent, but you were able to play them closely throughout the game. They beat you in points in the paint, and they were able to go on a late scoring run and eventually pull away from you. So ideally, you would love to match up against Georgia State, but if you got to play ODU, play and clean up in the mistakes that you had and be able to be 1 to 2 possessions away and try to advance. If they're able to move on, they would then play the 8th seed, which would be James Madison, which, again, is a team that they have beaten. If they're able to pull that win off, they would advance, and then they would play the, I think, 5 seed, if I'm not mistaken. I had it pulled up, and I was looking at it just a few minutes ago, so let me pull it back up. So I'm telling you for certain. The 5 seed, yes, which currently is Texas State, a team that you just beat. If you're able to pull that off, you move on to Saturday, and you face South Alabama, a team that you did lose to, but you only lost to them by 6. Again, playing good defense. Put yourself in a position to where it's 1 to 2 possessions to be the difference. But honestly, again, with you being a team that isn't even supposed to be in this position, that with all odds stacked against you, if you make it to this point and bow out gracefully, this is a win. This is not where you absolutely projected yourself being at the beginning of the season. It's not what you practice all summer for and then compete all throughout the regular season. But that's a good way to bow out. Now, if you're able to pull that off, you move on and then you play in the semifinals. And you'd have to play App State, who beat you earlier in the season and is the best team in the Sun Belt as of right now. And if you're able to pull that off, then you're playing for a conference championship. It's a lot of what ifs, but that is currently what the path would lay out as. And like I said, a team that has nothing to lose, that is playing lights out defense, is what Louisiana is right now. And that is what makes them the most dangerous team heading into the Sun Belt Conference tournament. Obviously, they're going to need some help offensively. They're going to need it because you got to make shots. If you hold in teams under 50, you still got to score 51. Right now, the big three of Devion Laverne, Dorian Finister, and Jackson Olvera are all averaging in double figures, and they're going to go and get their buckets. But you're going to need 5, maybe even 6 guys to really give you quality minutes scoring the basketball as well as playing good defense. Darius Woodson, a senior for you, has been playing really, really good. I believe he was 4-4 for shooting from 3 in your victory over Texas State. Karis Bilal, after coming off of injury, has really given you some productive minutes. Malam Mejia has inserted himself back in the starting lineup and has been able to play good defense for you. You're going to need a couple buckets from him as well, because teams are going to look at the scouting report and they're going to say, all right, Dorian Finister is going to try to get his. Devion Laverne is going to attack the basket and shoot from the mid-range. Jackson Olvera is going to come out and try to do his thing as well. It's going to have to be the other guys around them offensively that are going to need to step up to try to get it done. But the thing that they will have, without a shadow of a doubt, because it always travels, is the defense that they've played with all season long. That's going to wrap up this episode here on Ragin Rundown. If you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. But do me a favor, because I'm looking at the analytics. 90% of the people that are watching these episodes are not subscribed. So go ahead, hit the bell down below and subscribe to the channel. Like this video, leave a comment down below and share it with someone else so they can see it as well. If you're listening on the podcast side, do me a favor as well. Follow the podcast feed, rate us, and leave us a review, because that will help us get in front of more Ragin' Cajun fans just like yourself. I'm your guy, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick. We'll see you guys next time.